Today's top picks from Reuters Breakingviews. Barclays' incoming chairman has a golden opportunity to reform the bank's pay and bonus culture, and a round trip for China's Focus Media as the Carlyle Group bids to make it private again. With me to discuss these stories is Reuters Breakingviews' Robert Cole. Robert, good morning. Incoming chairman at Barclays, David Walker, he's making all the right noises about wanting to reform the pay structure and bonus culture. He could hardly say anything else.
Absolutely. Given his background, having undertaken a pay review, he's clearly very well placed to do that as well. The point of this piece is to say, look, not only can he talk the talk, but he has a great opportunity to walk the walk. And while we have no reason to believe that he won't do that, we're saying that he really has no excuse not to do that. I think there are various reasons behind, various reasons why, if you like, his path to reform is smooth, not least that, Barclays got into hot water with pay at recent annual meetings, but so did some of the other sort of leading investment banks. And given the state of investment banking, it's hardly that those other banks would want to be poaching as well. So, the reason why reform of pay hasn't taken place in advance is because of fear that the bankers might walk. The golden opportunity here is that, given the circumstances at other banks, the investment pressures and the business environment, it looks much less likely that disgruntled Barclays bankers would have anywhere to go. But this piece also goes on and talks a bit more about the sort of things that David Walker should be considering, aligning pay with economic profit generated, some reform of the LTIPs and those sort of things as well. So it's really kind of
in line with economic generated profits. Now there's a novel concept.
Absolutely, wonders will never cease. Yes, indeed.
You talked about walking the walk. Do you think he actually will? Because he has to satisfy a broad church. He's got to satisfy the public, the shareholders, politicians and regulators.
Well, that I think is one of the reasons why he probably will do it. But I'm not trying to say that he won't, but we're trying to say that really put some steel in his backbone and say he should go on with this. He must go on with this, and he has a great opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, there's just something that's slightly nagging in the back of my mind. Is that as you've said at the top here, there are lots of warm words said by people in these situations, but somehow the execution isn't easy. But he has a good opportunity, perhaps as good an opportunity as anybody might have.
OK, let's move on to the second story. Chinese advertising company Focus Media is the big investors, big shareholders want to bring it back into private hands. Now, why is that?
Well, presumably because they think it's cheap, and following some allegations about accounting, I think it was, and a steep share price fall very recently. The buyers clearly think that there is a bargain here, although some of the multiples suggest that it's hardly right in the basement. But really, this is a story about corporate governance and about governance and about the way different people and different investors in different parts of the world are viewing what is clearly an issue, Chinese governance. We've all got doubts that things may not be as they seem, but it does seem here that the US investors in particular seem to be very quick to dismiss the corporate governance standards, and perhaps see them as overwhelming everything else as well. You've got to have a balance here, and you've got to see that there are other parts to the Chinese story than simply some doubts about corporate governance. And here I wonder whether clearly
governance in the States hasn't been crystal clear and clean either.
Well, quite, but it's difficult to draw those parallels too closely, I think. But I think the US investors, for example, have to be careful not to be passing up some very good opportunities here, and perhaps try a bit harder to get their heads around. Apply appropriate discount, but not too heavy a one.
Now, does this have any implications for other US investors in Chinese companies? Is this the start of a trend here, do you think?
Well, there are lots of US-listed Chinese companies, and the doubts about governance may not be as specific as the one in this particular case, but they are relatively wide-ranging. I suppose for US investors as well, this is a comfort. They'll get out of something that they've been worried about. at a price which looks okay, I suppose. And, they can move on from there. But I wonder whether the bottom line here is whether they're missing a trick.
OK, Robert, thank you very much. That's all for now. My thanks there to Robert Cole. For more agenda-setting financial insight, do watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, that's 17:30 BST. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.